Resilience is often defined as the ability to bounce back, to take a heavy hit and return to your original shape. But human psychology does not operate like a physical object. Extreme psychological pressure reconfigures our internal landscape, making a return to a previous state inaccessible. This requires a shift to the resilience spectrum. Instead of simply surviving an ordeal and trying to revert to the past, this spectrum involves integrating adversity into ongoing growth. This spectrum emerges from a sophisticated interplay of coordinated mental states. A robust, sustainable resilience relies on interlocking psychological dimensions: protective boundaries, empathic connection, sustained motivation, receptive learning, and aesthetic harmony. How well you navigate a crisis is determined by the intentional combination of these internal lenses, rather than the raw force of the impact itself. The psychoprotective dimension acts as the foundational internal guardian of your core values and personal integrity. A healthy protective boundary deflects harmful influences, while remaining open to absorb what serves your growth. The counterbalance is the psycho-empathic dimension, governing connection. The boundary softens and extends outward to build a supportive network, without compromising the central core. Sustainable empathic resilience requires a strict balance. You must offer genuine support and understanding to others, while enforcing clear limits, ensuring your capacity for care does not lead to emotional burnout. You also have to direct this care inward. Self-compassion is a necessity here, as it prevents the kind of harsh internal criticism that quickly erodes your ability to process difficult experiences. A mind operating without protective boundaries collapses under external pressure, while a mind without empathic connection starves in isolation. Stability requires both. When adversity stretches from a brief shock into a prolonged ordeal, the psycho-motivational dimension takes over. Motivation driven by fleeting emotions or external social pressure burns out quickly. Sustainable motivation is rooted in a deep, unwavering understanding of your ethical values. This dimension acts as an internal engine. It provides the consistent energy required to push through bureaucratic hurdles, unavoidable setbacks, and slow progress over months or years. Yet relentless effort without adaptation becomes blind stubbornness. The psycho-receptive dimension prevents this rigidity. This flowchart shows how the receptive dimension processes reality. It relies on continuous feedback loops, striking an obstacle, gathering data, and instantly recalculating your mental constructs and actions to align with new realities. Resilient action requires both components: the deep, value-driven purpose to fuel your forward momentum, and the continuous learning to steer that momentum effectively. When struck by an unexpected crisis, the mind often defaults to a single reactive interpretation. You can override this instinct using cognitive multi-state awareness. This is the advanced capacity to hold several possible interpretations of a situation in your mind simultaneously, before settling on any single reaction. By pausing to tolerate ambiguity, you prevent the premature automatic reactions that usually escalate a crisis rather than solve it. This ability to balance paradoxes is governed by psycho-aesthetic equilibrium. It is the psychological force that harmonizes conflicting states, like rigorous structure and creative flexibility, into a single coherent system. Profound psychological stability does not come from eliminating internal conflict. It comes from mastering the tension between opposing forces. We tend to assume the psychological impact of a painful past event is locked in place. You can actively change how a memory affects you through a practice called reconvergence. This involves deliberately revisiting a difficult experience and processing it through an entirely new dimensional lens. While the objective facts of what happened cannot be altered, the psychological framework you apply in the present determines how those facts are integrated and felt. Processing a past failure through a protective lens might lead to defensiveness. Re-examining that same failure through an aesthetic lens reveals the vulnerability you showed and the growth that followed. This intentional state selection allows you to extract actionable wisdom from your suffering, rather than remaining trapped in a reactive, defensive loop. Resilience is a continuous, intentional craft. By consciously choosing the correct internal lenses to process your experiences, you ensure that every challenge fuels your ongoing adaptation and growth.